Greetings, mortals. There are places in this world where explanations come to die, where something is seen again and again, and no matter how many try to explain it away, it remains. Lights that move with purpose, a voice that calls from the darkness. Tonight, we travel into the heart of Texas, where two legends have refused to disappear.
Out in the remote desert near Marfa, there is very little. No towering skyline, no endless highway traffic, no constant glow of artificial light. At night, the land empties itself. The sky stretches endlessly above, and the ground beneath becomes a dark, silent expanse. It is the kind of place where you can see for miles and hear almost nothing. And yet, for more than 100 years, people have reported something that should not be there at all. Lights. Not distant stars, not aircraft, not anything easily explained, but glowing orbs hovering just above the desert floor. The earliest known reports of these lights date back to the late 1800s. Ranchers working the land began to notice something unusual. At first, they assumed it was simple lanterns in the distance, travelers moving across the plains at night. But the behavior of the lights quickly made that explanation impossible. The lights would appear suddenly, without warning. They would hover in place, then drift, then change direction entirely. Some witnesses claimed the lights would flicker like flames, while others said they shined steadily, bright, controlled, almost deliberate, and then they would vanish. No footsteps, no figures, no trace. As the years passed, the sightings didn't fade, they spread. Stories of the lights became part of local culture. Some believed they were spirits, lost souls wandering the desert. Others believed they were remnants of past tragedies, echoes of something that had happened long ago. But even then, there was a quiet understanding among those who had seen them. These weren't just stories, because too many people had witnessed the same thing, independently, without speaking to each other, describing identical behavior. By the time the 20th century arrived, the Marfa Lights had become something more than folklore. They had become a phenomenon. Tourists began traveling to the area specifically to see them. Scientists began to take interest. And yet, despite the attention, the mystery only deepened. Modern witnesses describe the lights in strikingly similar ways. Small orbs, usually white, sometimes yellow, occasionally even red. They appear low on the horizon, often just above the ground. At first, they seem distant, harmless, easy to dismiss, but then they begin to move. They drift sideways, pause, then accelerate, far faster than any natural flame or reflection should. Some witnesses report the lights splitting into 2 or 3 before merging back together again. Others claim they move in sharp, sudden angles, as if changing direction intentionally, not randomly, not naturally, but with purpose. There are even accounts of the lights approaching vehicles, closing the distance, matching speed, remaining just far enough away to be seen clearly, but never close enough to touch. One witness described it simply. It felt like it was watching us, like it knew we were there. Over the decades, countless explanations have been proposed. The most common theory is that the lights are caused by distant car headlights, that atmospheric conditions, heat, air density, and distance bend the light, creating the illusion of floating orbs. At first glance, it seems reasonable, but there is a problem. The lights were being reported before cars existed in the region, long before headlights could have played any role. Other theories suggest swamp gas, methane emissions, electrical plasma, but none of these explanations fully account for the movement, or the consistency of the sightings, or the fact that controlled experiments have failed to reproduce the effect reliably. Researchers have set up observation stations, tracked the lights, recorded them, and yet they remain unpredictable, appearing some nights, absent on others, refusing to follow any consistent pattern. But perhaps the most unsettling detail isn't the movement, it's the atmosphere. Those who witness the lights often describe a shift in the environment. The desert goes quiet. The air feels heavy. Sound seems to disappear. And in that moment, watching these lights move across the horizon, many people report the same feeling. Not curiosity, not excitement, but but unease, a sense that what they are looking at is not simply a natural occurrence, because the lights don't behave like something mindless. They behave like something aware. And that raises a question no one has been able to answer. If the lights are not reflections, not gas, not some rare atmospheric illusion, then what are they? Along the edge of the Rio Grande, where the water moves slowly through the dark, there is a story that has been told for generations. A woman, dressed in white, seen near the river at night, crying endlessly. They call her La Llorona, the weeping woman. The legend itself is widely known. A mother, driven by rage, jealousy, or despair, drowned her own children. Moments later, realizing what she had done, she was consumed by grief. And in that grief, she took her own life. But death did not end her suffering. According to the story, it only trapped her within it. Now, she wanders the earth, searching, calling out, forever looking for the children she lost. In many places, the story is treated as folklore, a warning told to children, a way to keep them from wandering too close to the water at night. But along the Texas border, the tone changes. Because here, people don't just tell the story, they report encounters. Late at night, fishermen along the river have described hearing something unusual. At first, it sounds like wind or distant movement, but then it becomes clearer. A sound that doesn't belong to the river. A woman crying, not loudly, not dramatically, but softly, broken, close enough to hear clearly, but far enough that it can't be located. Some have followed the sound, moved along the riverbank, searching, but as they approach, the crying seems to move, always just ahead, always just out of sight. Others have claimed to see her, a figure in white, standing near the water, still, unmoving, until she disappears. But the most disturbing accounts don't come from those who go looking. They come from those who were never supposed to encounter anything at all. Families living near the river have reported something far more personal. Children waking in the middle of the night, sitting upright, listening. When asked what's wrong, they give the same answer. A woman is calling me. Some children describe hearing their name, spoken softly, repeated over and over. Parents at first assume it's a dream, a nightmare, something imagined. But then the reports continue, night after night, consistent, specific. In some cases, parents claim to have heard it themselves, faint, barely audible, a voice outside, calling. One of the most chilling details across these accounts is that the voice doesn't sound entirely human. It is soft, but distorted, as if something is trying to imitate a human voice and not quite getting it right. There are even reports involving baby monitors, parents hearing faint crying through the speaker, assuming their child is awake, only to find them asleep, silent, unaware. And in those moments, the sound continues, coming not from the room, but from somewhere outside. Skeptics argue that these experiences can be explained, that the human mind is susceptible to suggestion, that stories passed down through generations can influence perception, that sounds near water can carry strangely in the night. But that doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain how multiple people in different locations describe the same voice, the same tone, the same pattern. It doesn't explain why children, too young to fully understand the legend, report nearly identical experiences. And it doesn't explain the fear, because unlike a simple story, these encounters leave something behind, a feeling, a sense that something was there, watching, waiting. In many communities along the Rio Grande, La Llorona is not dismissed. She is respected, avoided, and never challenged, because there is a belief, quiet but persistent, that the story is not just a warning, it is a memory.
Some things don't need proof. They only need witnesses. Lights that move without reason. Voices that call without a body. So if you ever find yourself alone in the Texas desert, and something appears in the distance, or something calls your name, don't answer.